Welcome to the Napier People and Places Committee meeting, Thursday the 28th of March 2020. Can I please ask everyone to stand for our opening karakia?
Tū taua mai e runga, tū taua mai raro, tū taua mai roto, tū taua mai wapaho, kia taua mai Māori, te Māori ora, ki te katoa, hui e, pai e.
Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded and is live streamed on Council's Facebook page. I have apologies from Council Crystal. Have we received any other apologies? No? No? Can I have a mover and a seconder for the apologies? Councillor Tariha and Councillor Brown. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Apologies are carried. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Nothing there. This morning we have a presentation in the public forum. The presentation is from Peter Grant and I've got Michelle Grant here. Yeah. From the Positive Ageing Strategy Advisory Group. Can I invite yourselves and your team, if they're coming up, to the front table? Okay, thank you. Yep. Maybe some changes to our apologies. We may have a member arrive late. That's all right. I can give you the usual spiel that you've got 10 minutes and then there's 5 minutes allowed for questions, but we'll see how it runs, eh?
Mr Chairman, Your Worship the Mayor and esteemed councillors, it's a pleasure to be here today and to have a chance to brief you on where the Positive Ageing Strategy Advisory Group, PASAG, is at the moment. Michelle and I, Michelle is our support team leader and I will do the presentation. I acknowledge our councillor and advisor, Councillor Mawson. He's great to have on a team. We've got a very good team. One of our co-chairs, Alexia Puna, is unfortunately unable to be here, but fortunately for her, she's in Australia with her whānau celebrating her 83rd birthday. So we miss Alexia being here. She's a great part of our team and we'll just get on and do this without her. The Napier City Council established a project team to develop a positive ageing strategy, which Council then formally adopted in late 2021. Council then formed a Positive Ageing Strategy Advisory Group to turn that strategy into reality. I was appointed as the project leader in November of 22. I felt the team needed strong Māori leadership to achieve the best results, so Piri Prentice was appointed as the co-chair. Piri found that unfortunately he couldn't devote the time he needed, so stood down, and I acknowledge his recent very sad passing. Lexia was then added to our team as the co-chair, and as I say, she's in Australia celebrating her 83rd birthday. From a Napier City Council perspective, we're supported by Councillor Grego, who provides a lot of very practical support and guidance, and we have Michelle as our go-to lady. Again, we are looked after very well by these two hard-working and very much involved people.
So we're just going to cover off some of our significant achievements to date. And before I start on that, I just really would like to acknowledge our co-chairs, Peter and Lexia. Peter doesn't know I'm saying this, we didn't plan this. But between them, they bring a huge amount of experience, wisdom and knowledge to the table, which they do purely in their own time, on top of their very many other commitments that they have in very busy lives. So it's a privilege to be working alongside both of them. So our early PSAG meetings were focused on identifying agencies and community groups who might influence or be in some way involved in owning or participating in developing actions to address the needs that were identified in the strategy. And I'd like to acknowledge some of our PSAG members who are here today supporting us from Health New Zealand, Te Whatu Ora, Enliven Hawke's Bay and the Safer Napier Strategic Group. So the first iteration of the action plan was developed as a group. We took all of the information that we received from the community when we were out talking to them about the strategy and identified what we believe are the key action areas to focus on. And we have our first iteration of the action plan here if you'd like copies. The second thing we focused on is achieving international recognition. And this was ensuring that the efforts we're leading to make Napier more age-friendly are recognised and supported on the world stage, particularly by the World Health Organisation, who are the international supporters of the age-friendly initiative. And our application to them was approved in September last year, making Napier officially the 6th city in New Zealand working towards being truly age-friendly. An important benefit of having gained this status is that we're now on the WHO membership list. We receive documents from them that outline the initiatives that other age-friendly cities are developing around the world, which will of course be very useful in us extending on our own plan and identifying other useful ideas, contacts and initiatives around the world. As a group, PSAG's provided submissions for consideration and inclusion in various Napier City Council plans. So to date, we've prepared submissions on the previous LTP, previous annual plans and the proposed district plan. And we'll be looking to do a similar submission for the 3-year plan that's out now for consultation. And this is where we collectively provide comment and ideas to incorporate age-friendly elements and considerations within those plans. For consideration by council. One last thing that we've been involved with is working with the design team for the new library precinct, Te Aka, and we'll undoubtedly have further interaction with them related to considerations again for age-friendly aspects that might be included in the new build. And hopefully these will be extended to any other new builds or refurbs, particularly in public buildings.
Areas for improvement. The first is community organisation involvement. At the start of the project, we had about 20 community organisations coming to meetings, but clearly, as we sought to identify what we were doing, we didn't capture their interest or attention of all of them, and well enough, and several have attended sporadically our meetings. Of course, we as a team are very much reliant on all parties who have an involvement with older people. We need them there to express their ideas, but also importantly to give their thoughts on the impact of ideas put forward by others. So over Christmas break, we approached these organisations to better understand their issues and needs and have met with some like Kāinga and Hawke's Bay Regional Council to emphasise the importance of their input, to understand their needs and to ensure their attendance. One of the important successes from our efforts is that because of Wha Alexia's efforts, we now have good, strong representation from both Tai Whenua and the Māori Women's Welfare League.
So housing and transport are two priority areas identified in our strategy for being an age-friendly city. So these discussions that we held with Kāinga and Regional Council have been really useful. Both of the organisations have indicated interest in leading separate, more specific focused discussions with others involved specifically in these areas. So, for example, Kāinga indicated they would like to work together more closely with Mana Whenua and Napier City Council to ensure that any development that they're doing caters for a cross-section of people as a community rather than just for specific classifications of tenants. And we're aware that Regional Council have established recently an active transport committee where all of those partners involved in providing active transport, including public transport, meet regularly. Obviously, public transport is a particular focus for older people. The affordability and access routes are critical. So there's an opportunity through this committee to look at transport options to be coordinated more effectively to meet the needs of older people.
We believe that there would be value in council encouraging and helping where necessary to facilitate these groups so that they better reflect the community need, and in our case, particularly so for our older people.
So next steps for the group, where to next? There's certainly a lot to be getting on with. The reality is that we're just really getting started, but because we've had some interruptions with momentum due to the cyclone. But we are receiving regular correspondence and information from the WHO, and this includes information on the ideas that other age-friendly cities are implementing and the lessons being learnt and what they're doing. So this is critical for us going forward. We're also an active member of the National Age-Friendly Network, which is coordinated by the Office for Seniors in Wellington, and there's 33 councils who are members of that network, and that's growing each month. Another additional piece of work that we're doing is through the WHO, who are encouraging surveys in each of the countries who have signed up to be age-friendly. So this is an age-friendly assessment for the city, and this was offered to us through the Office for Seniors in conjunction with the Hague University in the Netherlands. So I quickly put my hand up and said Napier would love to be the first one off the ranks. So we're working on that at the moment. We're hoping to go live in May. We're seeking ethical approval through colleagues, researchers at Te Pūkenga at the moment. So this is a survey of older people assessing different domains of age friendliness against the WHO framework. And we're hopeful that the survey will give us more information and ideas about where we can focus going forward for Napier.
We also need to have some focus on and help empowerment of regular housing and transport forums that assist both Kāinga and HPRC meet the community needs in their areas of responsibility. We need to get government involved in supporting the council to provide for our older people in some way. For example, in housing, it is patently obvious that many councils provide social housing just as many charities do. So, government should team up with the particular age-friendly cities to build more houses and provide the IRRS, as it does to Kāinga, to councils to make this housing viable and affordable to older people. I wrote to the spokespersons of each party about this prior to the election and got answers. Only one of them was a positive one, and I have, as I say, I've written to the current member MP for Housing, and I'm in the process of doing this again to try and encourage the government to provide the IRRS to council just as it does to Kāinga.
A couple of other projects that we're working on at the moment. One is around the commemoration of the 150th anniversary of Napier becoming a borough, and coordinating an opportunity with our International Day of Older Persons celebration in October to recognise both events together. So we're working on that with Bevan. And we've also we're really pleased to have received some support recently from the Regional Public Service and MSD in terms of some funding from their Community Hauora Wellbeing Fund to offer free movie and afternoon tea events for older people through the year, just as an opportunity to reduce social isolation.
Emergency planning. Gabrielle again highlighted the vulnerability of older people in emergency situations. We will be looking to ensure that older people are in the future far better prepared for any emergency situation. And we hope to involve young people in developing supporting plans for older people in such situations. We have also been looking for some means of funding the resources that older people might need in these situations. In closing, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to brief you all. Councillor Mawson, is there anything as our assigned councillor and very active member of our committee, is there anything you'd like to say, sir, before we finish?
Thank you, Peter. Just commending you and the team on the work that you're doing. I think one of the first things you said at the meeting, at our initial meeting, was you didn't want a committee or group to kick a can down the road, and you most certainly are not. So just to commend you and the rest of the team on the work that you're doing, and it's a fantastic opportunity to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, any questions?
Yeah. Any questions from the councillors? I'm sure they're rearing to go. Councillor Bogue.
Thank you. Well done. Thank you very much for the presentation. I just want to make a couple of points about transport for older people. I was watching the Regional Council Transport Committee the other day, and I understand the on-call bus system that they trialled in Hastings, and Councillor Price is on there.
My way.
My way, and it's finished. It's not going to happen, or it's not going to extend into Napier.
Not at this stage, but both Martin and myself were voiced our view that it should still try and get it running.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
And the other item was Hato Hone St John's made a presentation to Grey Power recently, and they have a free pickup van for medical appointments, which I think would also interest particularly older people who don't have transport. So just to put that in your kitty.
Thank you. Yes, we're aware of those. But we're also very worried about mobility scooter access and pathways, particularly given a recent accident where someone on a mobility scooter was injured seriously by a car. They get thrown off the footpaths by irate people who don't want them filling up the footpath, etc., etc. And so I think we've got a particular problem here and probably all over New Zealand, with the growing number of mobility scooters and how we safely incorporate them into our transport around the town.
Councillor Crown.
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks so much for your presentation. I'm wondering, Peter, the letters that you're writing, especially to central government representatives, is that under the mantle of your role as chair of PASAG, or
No,
is
it's
this
not.
an individual?
Me personally.
Right. I was wondering, now that we have an action plan in place, when the monitoring or reporting against those actions come back to us, wondering whether it's worthwhile to note those sort of things and see whether you present those under the mantle of being the chair of PASAG, because I think it's a really important part. And the other thing would be, do we have a process at the moment where you can contribute to submissions that the council makes from a positive ageing perspective? Is that in place? Might be a
Yes,
question for
it is.
Michelle.
Yeah, through the chair. Thanks for those questions. Yeah, we certainly see this group as having a role in advocacy and keeping a record of submissions made. So although Peter signed those letters against his own name, they were definitely something that we discussed as a group that he brought to the table. And sorry, what was the second question?
The second question was around is there an internal process in place for PASAG to contribute to the submissions that we make as a council?
Yeah, through the chair, there is. I obviously have eyes on what's happening elsewhere in council where we can contribute that lens to any commentary that's going elsewhere. And anything that we think is significant enough, we actually make a submission as a group, the PASAG group.
Thank you.
Very active group.
Deputy Mayor Brosnan, did you have a question?
Thank you, Michelle and Peter. It was great to hear from you. One of the areas that I've discussed with Michelle before that we sort of see a little bit of commentary on, and that is the implementation in our roading strategy for things related to accessibility. And I just wonder if you had any comment on whether or not there was a role in auditing the effectiveness of some of those program rollouts. We do see some criticism that, that sort of comment that devil's in the detail sometimes, and perhaps some things are rolled out with little bits and pieces that could have been done better. So I'm just interested in your on-the-ground experience and whether or not there's an opportunity for auditing there.
Yeah.
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Brosnan. We definitely link in closely with colleagues within council around accessibility, wearing my other hat of the Napier Disability Strategy portfolio. There's a lot of crossover between the two. And we've got a group of champions within council across teams who are aware of the disability strategy in particular, and kind of the opportunities and issues that arise in our work from that. I have been linking in with the transportation team about audit. We wouldn't see that as our role in particular, but I know that they've got a person in their team who's responsible for quality assurance. So we're kind of pushing it out to the teams who are the experts in those areas. We're not experts, unfortunately, in everything, but we can advocate that happens, if that makes sense.
And I know that Councillor Mawson does the same. I know he goes and talks to various people around the place to ensure we are approached and we're made aware of what opportunities are available to us. We are happy to be involved in anything, of course, which might improve the lot of older people in our community. They're a growing group, they're an affluent group, and they're a very important group within our community who probably don't get enough attention at this time, but we make a lot of noise, and so hopefully we'll get heard.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Taylor.
It's not actually a question, it's a bit of a clarification and a point, but the Regional Council doesn't have an active transport committee. They have a technical advisory group that doesn't have council elected representatives on it. Napier City Council does have an active transport committee, and it would possibly be a good opportunity for a representative of the positive ageing to also be on there. There are a number of people who have the gold card that are on that active transport group, but it could always be more.
Just a question from myself. Your action plan that you've got there, as far as copies go, what's the best way for councillors to get hold of one of those if they would like to have a read of
I'll
it?
leave them here at the front of the...
That makes it easy.
They're also available on our website. We've got a positive ageing page on the website with a whole pile of information on it, including the action plan.
Great.
But yeah, we can leave these with you.
Yeah.
I might add that it is a very first iteration. We're going to be adding to it as we go, and we'll be adding a page of our successes as a part of that action plan, so that people can see that what we are actually achieving.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'd like to thank Peter Grant and Michelle Gregg. I'll get that correct. And look forward to see what the next year holds. Good luck.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Announcements by the chairperson, I have none. Any minor matters not on the agenda for discussion? Are there any announcements by management? No, nothing? I don't have on here. Any announcements by the mayor?
Morning. Yes, I did just want to have a brief moment to talk about our 3-year plan, which of course we opened up for consultation at the start of this week, and people will have the opportunity to make a submission to that through till the 26th of April. And I really do want to encourage people to read the consultation document, which can be found online at napier.nz, or a hard copy can be collected from our libraries or customer service centre. And obviously there's a lot of things that we're consulting on in this particular document, and I really, really would like to think that people take the time to read it, to understand what we're planning for the next 3 years, to understand what is driving our proposed 23.7% rates increase, which, believe you me, was not an easy decision as councillors for us to make, to go out with that figure. But there are some very, very real reasons that are driving that, and please take the time if you are motivated to do so, to read that and make a submission to us. And other than that, I'd just like to wish everyone a very happy Easter. I hope everyone has a relaxing and enjoyable long weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Confirmation of minutes. I move that the minutes of the Napier People and Places Committee meeting held on Thursday, the 7th of September 2023, be taken as a true and accurate record of the meeting. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Gregg, Councillor Price. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's carried. We now move to our open agenda items. And agenda item 1 is Memorial Square Community Rooms update. And you'll find that on page 5 of your agenda. And the report writer is Jamie Goodsir. And we also have a presentation by the Art Deco Trust representatives, Jeremy Smith, Barbara Arnott, and Simon Dunn. Welcome, team.
Yes, good morning. So at the 22nd of Feb Sustainable Napier meeting, there was an action to update the People and Places Committee with respect to funding for the Memorial Square project. So I've prepared a brief report which is available to you there. I will just take that as read, but just draw your attention to a couple of matters. One being that the building consent has since been lodged, and also that we've got our colleagues from the Art Deco Trust working group here to answer any questions with respect to funding if required. It is quite timely to have this update to Council because the working group have discussed the project, and we're thinking that it's appropriate to split the project up into 2 stages. So the first stage would include the seismic structural work. Now the funding is available for that, and that can commence immediately. And then stage 2 would be the balance of the project once additional funding was obtained. So that's our proposal to Council, and we're hoping that, we can get approval for that. So that's pretty much me. Just wondering if there's any questions for either myself or the working group.
Councillor Price.
Just one question. Stage 1 is something you would do to that building no matter what it was going to be used for. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a couple of issues, I suppose, with the building. There's some asbestos that's been around for quite some time, obviously, mainly associated with the lagging of the old pipes under the building. So that's in the subfloor. So that asbestos needs to be removed in order for us to get in and do the structural work because there's footings required under the building. So Council has funding outside of this project to complete that asbestos remediation. So we'd split that up into 2 sections, the first being the subfloor at this stage 1, and then the ceiling, there's some asbestos in some of the ceilings, and there's also some asbestos in some of the soffits that would be remediated as part of the second stage.
So it's best it gets done.
It is. So this first stage would remove the asbestos in the subfloor and also make the building seismically strong. So yeah, the building is definitely more usable after stage 1.
Thank you.
Councillor Crown.
Thank you through the chair. I'm just wondering, with phase 1 of the project, will it cause any disruption to our Saturday markets once we start to undertake that work?
So when the building works are undertaken, we're going to need to probably fence around the building because there's going to be workers coming and going there. As far as the markets, I'm not entirely sure, but I can certainly find out.
Just wondering about, disruption in general as well.
Yeah, obviously with the works, we need to keep the public safe from the works. My understanding would be that the building would be fenced. We'd need a corridor for the removal of the asbestos. It's something we would need to coordinate.
Can I clarify
Yeah.
a point there? So the strengthening works, which gets the building to 100% MBS, which is a pretty awesome outcome, requires that the full roof is removed. So that's the heritage concrete tiles. So they need to, really the building needs to be fenced so that you can safely remove all of those tiles, secure the building. Then there's a structural kind of membrane going in inside the roof, and stanchions going down at various points within the building, which will then be completely covered within the walls, so you won't actually see it at all. So probably 80% of the strengthening of the building goes within the roof void, and then the tiles get put back on. So it's necessary, kind of, you have to fence it, secure it. My understanding of the market is it's generally on the road. So I'm sure we'll be able to work in with the various council members there to make sure it works properly and that can continue.
Councillor Gregg?
Oh, yes, through the chair. Just a question about the project progress update. It says anticipated construction completion late 2024. Is that optimistic, or are you confident that that's a realistic kind of aim?
I think it's realistic in the sense that we're just about to put out the RFP for the main building contract work. The asbestos tender has already gone out, and we're hoping to appoint that asbestos removal contractor probably by the end of next week, which is the first thing to get done. I think if you bear in mind, it's literally a 320 square metre house. Really, it's a single structure that's in a park, so access is pretty easy from a construction point of view. And yes, I think with a fair wind, stage 1 will definitely be done. That can probably be done within 4 months. The stage 2 part relies really on the fundraising effort, which is just starting now. So on the basis that Barbara's able to raise the money, and she's leading the fundraising charge. So a little time off to you, Barbara. No, we're doing it together as a team. You're very welcome. That yes, we should be able to achieve that target.
Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. It's lovely to have you all here. It's been a little while since we've had you, and so I would like to commend you, I guess, on the progress you've made so far. It's been significant since we last saw you. I suppose now that we have you in front of us, I'd be really interested in your commentary on the progress to date, and in particular how the fundraising, I suppose you touched on that just then, Simon. But also, I suppose I have some questions. The paper in front of us is asking us to endorse a staged approach. I'm interested if that's a consensus view of everyone in the working group around how we should proceed. And my other question was just around, I suppose, is there a level of agreement around that scope, the work that we are planning to stage? So I just want to gain some confidence around the staged approach, and what's included in those staging is a scope that's all agreed.
To answer that, are you happy?
Yeah, you go.
Sure. Thanks, Annette, for the question. Yeah, the working group's been performing well. It's been really useful having everybody together from the council viewpoint and from our own viewpoint as a community project. And we're very much leading the project as a community project. And because it's seen by the community and with their involvement, we've had tremendous support from a whole range of professional services people who have either given their time for free or at cost. And I don't think we'd have that level of engagement otherwise if it wasn't for the Art Deco Trust really leading that. So it's been a really interesting partnership.
Sorry, can I just stop you for a second and just get you to use the mic?
Yeah,
because it's being beamed out.
Yes, sorry, of course, thank you. Yeah, so I think through the community aspect of it, that's been really, really helpful. In any building project, you have cost escalation. So I think the fact that we have the 1.25 million currently available to spend, it makes perfect sense to enter into a contract to spend that money now while we have it, once the asbestos has been remediated in the underfloor space, so that we can move the building forward and have it strengthened. So that means that you're now watertight with the roof, you've got a 100% code-compliant structure of a building. So even in the worst-case scenario of us not being able to raise the rest of the funds to complete the project, which I think is extremely unlikely, the building has moved forward. It could be occupied by any other organisation if it wasn't the Art Deco Trust, subject to the various resource consent limitations of who can occupy it. So I think it makes sense to stage it. We've debated that quite a lot at the working group, and we came to a consensus that that was the right way to do it. So I think it's a very straightforward process to do, and I think we're geared up with the professionals we have on the team, with our external consultants as well, to achieve that.
Yeah,
Councillor's question.
thank you. Through you, Mr Chair. So I guess I'm reading between the lines there that the staging is not something that you're saying is going to delay the project overall. It's actually taking a step forward, and we're all quite
It is,
comfortable
and
with that.
I think if we were to try and wait to raise the whole money first, you know, Barbara will talk to this a bit more, but I think people who were approaching for funding actually want to believe that the project is going forward. And I think the fact that we will start the project and they can see that, then that encourages them to participate in the outcome.
Yeah, just to add to that, Councillor Brosnan, there's no doubt about it. When you are asking for funding for a building that's owned by the council, there is a hesitation there. And we have now, you know, said this is a community project. These are the people who are involved in terms of what Simon's been talking about. You know, hundreds of thousands of dollars have been poured into it by just willing helpers, willing skilled helpers who have put into the community. So as long as we can convince people that it is a community project, that it will be a building that is community use ultimately. So once they see it started, and once they see Simon as project lead and our project manager really getting on board with it, and some really spade in the ground, it will be easier for them to believe that, yes, this is a community project, yes, we are getting on with it, and it will be for community use at the end of it. So it is a perception thing that, but I think we're over the, I think we've got, we've certainly got the support of the community, put it like that, in heaps. So thanks very much to the community. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, through you, Mr Chair. Just a question and my congratulations, because I think it's been long overdue that we get this building back into public use. I think it's an important community asset. And speaking of important community assets and council being the owner of the building, I think my question has been answered, just around financial risk, the asbestos, the seismic strengthening work. Does that place us at any financial risk?
No, so the seismic work's being undertaken under the funding for the project. The asbestos work is outside of the project, and the council has funding associated to complete that remediation. So no, there's no risk.
Thank you.
And just to remind council, like the working group is 3 from the Art Deco Trust, and just to Chad, Councillor Tariha, who's your representative on the Art Deco Trust, so he gets our reports within the Art Deco Trust as well. And thanks very much. Thanks very much for that, Councillor Tariha. But Brian Faulkner sits on the working group, and as well as Jamie, obviously, and your Director of Community Services. So it's a strong working group, and council can be assured that with those 3 people in 3 different areas of the council, that every risk is covered.
Any more questions or discussion? Team? We're all good. Right. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Price and Councillor Tariha. Would you like to speak?
Just briefly, I'd like to support the officer's recommendation, and I think it's quite simple for the first stage, is it's got to be done. And as mentioned, if something fell over, it would still have to be done and ready for whatever else help. I don't think for 1 minute it will, and I'm sure within a month Barbara will have the money, so that'd be really good. In relation to Councillor Crown, I think it's a good concern that she showed, but it's something we'll have to work around because it's got to be done, no matter what happens. So I support all that. So yeah, that's me. Thanks.
Councillor Tariha.
Kia ora, through you, Mr Chair. Just like to add that the Art Deco Trust also engaged with the Ngāti Pārai Hapu Trust and Mana Hereri and received a letter of support for this relocation to the memorial building. And yeah, so the mana whenua are fully supportive of this kaupapa.
Right. Any other speakers for or against? I will now put the motion that we receive the report and that we approve this construction in a staged approach. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. We can actually now just get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get it done. All right. Thank you, guys. We then move to agenda item 2, and that is Orange Sky Service and the report on page 8 in your agenda. And we have Rebecca Peterson and Rob Tully to present the report and they've got a presentation also.
Thank you to the Chair and committee members for the opportunity to talk to this paper. Ko Beck Peterson tōko ingoa, he Senior Policy Advisor mō Te Konihira o Ahuriri. I'm Beck from the community team.
And I'm Rob Tully. I'm with the Napier Assist team, a senior officer there, and I've been lucky enough to be working with Beck since the end of last year in regard to various homeless projects.
To begin, I'd just like to play a short video of the topic of our presentation.
I've been living in my car now for 10 years. It's hard, very hard. At the moment now, I'm getting bad pains. It's a hard problem to get a place to stay. I've been on waiting lists for 6 years. I still haven't got a place. And the reason why I come here, I go every Friday, and I watch the clothes good. And it's good Orange Sky too. They help people. They helped me much.
I met John when I first started with Orange Sky, probably 4 years ago. He's been one of our regulars, part of the community. Generally, it's a laundry service he'd use. He's a very snappy dresser, and then we always enjoy the conversations.
Of course, I know everybody. Every good voluntary staff works there. I know everybody here.
Conversations are very broad-ranging that we have. We have a lot of fun.
A lot of people come to me used to work in the laundry. Nah, mate. And they see me following my roll up. Oh, nah. I learned that stuff in the military. That's just a shift.
I think some of the misconceptions in the community about people experiencing homelessness is that they are somehow different, but they're not. They're going through a tough time, but they're no different from people that aren't.
You see, I had a problem. I had an accident. People do understand, some people don't. It's very hard. I'm always thinking.
The holiday period coming up impacts friends because it is a time when we all think about family and they may be estranged from their families for whatever reason. We're always welcoming, we're not judgy, we're always just here and we're consistent. We're all in it together. Life's a shared experience and some people are finding things harder and having a tougher time than others, but we're all on the same journey.
I'm assuming that will stop automatically. So the purpose of our paper today is to provide an overview of the Orange Sky service for Napier. So firstly, I'll provide a bit of a summary of Orange Sky. Orange Sky is a not-for-profit organisation working across Aotearoa, New Zealand to provide people experiencing homelessness and hardship with access to free laundry and hygiene services, as well as genuine non-judgmental conversation. Orange Sky have established services in the major cities across Aotearoa, following research and engagement with council officers, service providers, volunteering Hawke's Bay, and letters of support from several organisations. Orange Sky announced Te Mātou a Maui, Napier and Hastings as their first location to establish a regional service. Orange Sky relies on the support of volunteers and local partnerships, including services who provide homelessness support in the community. The Orange Sky asset coming to Napier and Hastings will be a bright orange laundry van containing 2 washers and 2 dryers. In the future, we also hope to secure a van that offers showers as well. So what does the Orange Sky service look like? As mentioned, Orange Sky will be delivering services in Napier and Hastings. They will offer shifts in the CBD and at the outer lying suburbs. They will work alongside local service providers, which they have indicated as a key success factor. The aim is to offer 4 to 5 loads of washing on a typical shift, which equates to 35 washes per week and 1,700 loads of laundry annually. One shift will be approximately 2 to 2.5 hours long. Suggested hours are 7 to 9:30 in the morning. And to run this, they will need 4 volunteers per shift. This will include a service coordinator, a vehicle leader, and a community engagement coordinator, plus shift volunteers. The van is fully self-contained, has solar power, and when needed can run for at least 2 hours without needing to take on or offload water. Council officers have been involved as part of a working group alongside Whatever It Takes Trust, Connect Community Trust, Volunteering Hawke's Bay, and Hastings District Council. We are working with our regulatory team, Parks and Reserves team, and the roading team. This is to understand if any consents are required for permission to provide their service on council land, taking into consideration the operative district plan rules and asset management plans for the proposed activity and locations that we identify. We are also working with teams to identify clear recommendations about Orange Sky grey water management. The service launch is aiming for July with a site visit planned for May. And the reason for our interest and involvement is particularly focused around the compact nature of Napier's inner city business district and working with them to identify a suitable location in a city location. We have worked with them to identify criteria to help find suitable locations, including layout, access, retail or business impact, surveillance, sightlines, and staff access to basic amenities. Orange Sky are also investigating additional locations that don't involve public places and roading reserves and are located next to service providers. This could be in some inner suburbs, not just in the CBD. I'll hand over to Rob.
Cool, thank you. I'll just cover off some of the facts and figures that we've sort of garnered since October when I started it. So every month we've been doing a point-in-time count of the homeless, both along from Waitangi Reserve right up beachfronts and also an approximation of who we have in the CBD. It is continuing to rise, although it has slowed down significantly now. So if I'll just quickly go through what I have here. So October, I decided we needed to have a count so that we can get a grasp of how big the issues that we're dealing with are. Then there were 23 homeless on the beachfront, I'll call it, which includes Awatoto, Marine Parade and West Shore, and approximately 27 in and around CBD. So it gave us a total of 50. December, we had 32 on the beachfront and 30 again in town, so 62, so that's up 12. January, we had 69 on the beachfront, and then still about 30 in town. So that gave us 99, so that's up 37 from December. February, 75 on the beachfront, and then about 30 still in town, so there's up to 105, which was up 6 from the previous month. And then March, the last count we did, We had 71 on the beachfront, so that's dropped a little bit. However, in town has gone up to about 40 people. That migration is probably due to winter coming on and the cold weather, as well as some out-of-town people that we have that come in and leave during the various months. Just to explain, the October figures are possibly a little bit low. So what we do now is the count's done at 6 a.m. in the morning, done on usually the second week of every month, just to maintain some consistency for perhaps if we need for auditing purposes later on. So that first count was done at 7 o'clock in the morning, at which time a lot of people have left in their vehicles and gone from the beachfronts off to work or wherever they go to. A lot of them are working, so they head off to where they're going. November, I didn't do a count because October one was done quite late in the month, and I just wanted to get everything into line. So it just explains that discrepancy. Yeah. Any questions?
So happy to take any questions.
Councillor Bogue.
Yes, thank you very much through you, Mr Chair. When you say so many people on the beachfront, are they sleeping out or are you talking about people in cars?
They're sleeping in cars predominantly.
Cars.
I have got a further breakdown, so generally, if time permits, I can quickly go through those just to give you an idea. So I'll start at January. For January, there were 59 people on the beachfronts in 33 vehicles. So, and of those, 13 vehicles with one person, 18 vehicles with two, one vehicle with 6 people, and one with 4. And then February, 65 people in 42 vehicles, made up of 1 or 2 people, so there was no full families with children there. And in March, we had 66 people in 36 vehicles. Again, couples or individuals, and no families with children.
Just further questions, if you don't mind, Mr Chair. I thought that people weren't being allowed to sleep on the foreshore unless they were in a car. Is that the case?
All of the ones that we count they are in vehicles, and they are generally in the car park areas. And when the car park area is full, some of them are parking within the immediate vicinity.
So are people still being moved on if they're just sleeping out on the beach?
They're spoken to and given advice on wraparound services and advised that they would need to move on.
Thank you. Just a question or two about the Orange Sky. I think that's great that it's coming here. Where do homeless people have showers, though? That's a concern for me, particularly the women. Do we allow them free showers at our facilities, or where do they have showers?
That might be a question Lance might. I believe they have in the past used the eyesight.
Chair, that is correct. They do use the eyesight.
And is that free or?
Generally, you pay, but they look at the eyesight of the type of people and they do let them in.
Oh, thank you. That's good. Thank you.
Councillor Price.
Just would this facility go to where the people are, or would the people have to go to this facility? Like if they're in a car park along Marine Parade or further down, would they go to that to do their washing?
Through the chair, my understanding is that they would have a timetable and that would be socialised with the service providers that they work with. So there'll be organised locations where people will know to go if they want to use Orange Sky services.
Just to follow up?
Yep.
Just concerns that it makes it too comfortable if you've got a car you're sleeping in and you've got a mobile washing unit that turns up, that's encouraging them to that area. I agree with what you're talking about. I just don't want to create more of a problem that we've got. I think camping or parking along the foreshore is not a good look for our city.
Through the chair, I suppose in response, the Napier the Regional Homelessness Action Plan, the goal of that is to identify other actions to support addressing the homelessness continuum. So, this is not the answer to, there's going to be a whole lot of other actions that will provide that additional support for people who may want to be housed or look at temporary housing or supported living options. So, yeah, there's a whole raft of other work that needs to occur.
I don't think you've actually answered my question in that will these go to these car parks, which will encourage people to stay there?
Yeah, through the chair, I can't answer that definitively. I suspect that there will be a bit of trial and error in terms of where the need is, and in terms of where they position themselves in the community. As I said before, they are working with services in the inner suburbs as well, who have actually put their hand up because there is hardship in our communities in the suburbs as well. So it's not just for the chronic rough sleepers, it's a service that is for people experiencing hardship as well.
Thank you.
Councillor Gregg.
Through the chair, thank you. Just to echo Councillor Price, there is a concern there that this could actually enable and encourage people to be homeless. So are there any reports from other councils about how this service works and the outcomes and whether or not it was beneficial?
Through the chair, the service is mainly in our bigger cities. So the services have been well supported by service providers or working in partnership with service providers, well utilised and is growing. So it's now in 4 cities across Aotearoa. And when looking to come to Hawke's Bay, they were looking at 3 other regions as well. So the need is there, and that's what they're responding to.
Councillor Crown.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Look, I think that it sounds like a fantastic service. I guess in order to allay some of the concerns of my colleagues and perhaps some of our community members, what will be the measures of success for this service? So in my mind, it's not how many loads of washing they do, etc. It's how many of our whānau Pounamu and those who are experiencing hardship are connected in with services that help them to transform their current situation. So are those types of measures built into this, and how will that come back to us? What determines success?
Through the chair, I hear what you're saying in terms of the number of loads of washing and as not being the only indicator of success. As mentioned, the linking with services and having those conversations as part of that journey of, enabling people to move into housing. So that is key. In addition, as mentioned, there will be other actions supporting, including Housing First, the Housing First program to support people into supported living if they're not ready to be housed. So, yeah.
And just, sorry, subsequent question. And so how will that information come back to us?
They provide service impact reports, so they have a very robust reporting mechanism and evaluation, so we can most certainly work with them and bring that back as it's implemented.
Thank you.
Councillor Simpson.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, following on from Councillor Crane's questions, I'll leave those questions aside. They were on my list, but my question, and again, congratulations and thank you for the statistics, and the observation that some of these people are actually our working poor. They have no choice to stay proximate to their employment in some cases, so I think we need to acknowledge that, and I think that's a good observation from the staff. And in other centres, both nationally and internationally, The laundry and particularly the shower services have contributed significantly to personal hygiene and better outcomes through employment processes. So I think we need to acknowledge those things. So my question, and I thank you for putting time and effort in now, and I realise that's an obligation, ongoing, once the service is in Napier, what are the ongoing obligations on council to support the system?
They go through Hawke's Bay volunteering to get some of their volunteers. I have spoken with my team leader, and we will be able to provide a couple of volunteers per shift. The team I'm work with, we build up quite a good rapport with a great percentage of the homeless that are out there. However, having this service will also encourage them. Sometimes working for the council, people don't quite open up to you as much. Having a service like this where they go along, get something done, and they build up that rapport with those people, we should be able to get more wraparound services to be able to help them as well.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I don't think that actually answered the question. I'm talking more around infrastructure, around staff time and commitment. Do you see that this becomes a burden on our staff and our capacity?
Through the chair, sorry, Rob. This is an independent operation, so this is quite unusual for them to be working so closely with council. In the big cities, they tend to work directly with the service provider who supports homelessness, and they park themselves up on their leased land. So this is actually quite unusual for them to be working so closely with council. There's no operational cost. It's really, as Rob has indicated, the fact that Napier Assist will be part of that support service.
Thank you.
Councillor Price?
Thank you. You sort of semi-answered my question, but would council have any control of where they go? I think you probably answered that in a little way.
If they are looking to park their van and operate on council asset, yes, we will have. That's why we're involved. If they choose to park up on a service provider's land, then, we hope to have the ability to influence where they park up.
Cool. Thank you.
I have a few questions I'd like to just work through. Napier Inc., we're currently working with them?
Through the chair, I'm not clear who Napier Inc. is.
Business group in
Napier
City Business? We're working with them?
So they are a Safe Napier strategic group partner. In terms of this project, they may be on the stakeholder list receiving regular partnering updates, but they're not part of the working group.
Okay. And is the organisation likely to have a paid employee based in the Bay, as opposed to just all volunteers?
Through the chair, I believe all of the positions are volunteer.
All volunteer. Yeah. I read in the paper not so long ago that the social welfare, or MSD, said there was houses for everybody in Napier. Do you believe that to be a correct statement from them?
Through the chair, I'm aware that there are at least approximately 400 on the social housing wait list. That's not my understanding.
Mr. Chair, may I just, that's not a question that we as officers can answer. That's an MSD statement they've made.
Okay, because the reason I ask it is because we seem to be looking to enable something that we don't know if it's required. If I read in the paper that there is housing available for everybody, are we then, I'm just making sure we're not actively working against the organisation that houses people.
Through the chair, I think the data that Napier Assist are collecting is confirming that we have an increasing number of transitionally homeless. So similar to what Councillor Simpson referred to as the working poor, or those who have, through circumstances, lost employment. It's my understanding that many of those who are living in cars along the foreshore are up and gone by sort of 8 or 9 in the morning to work, and then coming back and sleeping in their cars. So, that's an indication that there's a large portion of that that episodic or temporary homeless.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just a very short update is that the work that we are doing, and where the mayor is part of, of a committee that we are working with whatever it takes, and they are the entity at this stage that's giving a service to the Whanau. And we also are working on a committee that we want to set up in the next 2 to 3 weeks that will work again with all the service organisations and council to look at options of how can we assist and how can we be a part of a solution of going forward. So we are very much involved with the service organisations and with WIT on working on a way forward.
Any more questions? Do I have a mover and a seconder for the officer's recommendations?
Happy to move.
Deputy Mayor Brosnan. I better make it Mayor Kirsten Wise. Would you like to speak to?
Oh, just very briefly, thank you, team, for the report, for our information. I think it screams of good people wanting to do good things. I disagree with some of the statements that were made that it would encourage homelessness, and I agree with the comments that Councillor Simpson made that it will more increase dignity within our homeless community. So we know homelessness is not a simple solution, and quite frankly, we know it's not a ratepayer burden to sort that solution. We have a range of agencies and our social agencies and our central government that play a bigger role than what the homeowners in the city play, aka us, in sorting that. But we do play a role as a facilitator and a connector and a coordinator and enabler where we can. So I thank you, Robin Bex, for the support your team has put into bringing this in front of us and making us aware of it. And I am quite confident that through the good relationship you are obviously building with this provider, that if there are issues around proximity to residents or other issues that pop up with whatever locations they choose, that you'll be able to have a constructive conversation about that with them and alternatives found. And I think that's absolutely the right way to manage that. So more than happy to support the receiving of the information. Thank you very much.
Mayor Wise.
Thank you, through the chair, and very well summarised by the Deputy Mayor, but essentially there is a very real need for this service within our community, and I am thrilled that they have chosen to come to our region to support our homeless people that we have here. And I do want to acknowledge Napier Assist and the incredible work that you're doing to form those relationships with our community members who are homeless and ensure that they're connecting to other services that are available. It's good that we have a role to play in this in terms of what we can afford to do. As the Deputy Mayor said, there are many other central government agencies who this is more their lane than ours, but I am very pleased that we're able to contribute in the way that Napier Assist is with the support and the relationships you're forming and assisting our homeless people. And then also, as an aside of that, able to gather data, which then provides us with the evidence to know that this is a service that we need. So thank you, Rob, to you and all your team.
Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Yeah. Kia ora, I'd like to speak in favour of the motion. And I just thank you so much for bringing this to us. It's great to understand what's going on in the community. Orange Sky, I love that they said that they provide these services without judgment, and I think that's what this community, our whānau pounamu, really need. They're people who are doing it tough, they're vulnerable, and anything that can support them to maintain their dignity and to get help in a mana enhancing way, I'm incredibly in support of. So thank you.
Councillor Terrier? Not
Yeah,
quite.
through the chair. Kia ora. And kia ora for the work. I'd like to also support the comments made by the Deputy Chair. We at Waiohiki Marae have just opened our own laundromat, which is being very heavily utilised, and that's for those of us that have been displaced and that are still in our houses. And that's brought a tremendous amount of dignity and pride back to our marae and our rohe. So I'd like to tautoko your kaupapa. Kia ora.
Right. Anyone else? No? Oh. I'll put the motion. All those in favour to receive the report, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Carried. We're just going to take a short 2-minute recess while we get our next agenda item in line. Thank you. We'll head straight to agenda item 3, and that's the CDEM Group review of response to Cyclone Gabrielle, and that's on page 11 of your agenda. And we have Anne Bradbury to present the report. Now, Anne Blake, last name? McDevitt. Well done. And I'll just put it here that the officer's recommendation is to note the review of the Civil Defence Emergency Management Group's response to Cyclone Gabrielle.
Morena koutou. This review was released on Monday afternoon, and it's a bit of a long document, so I'm not sure if everyone's had a chance to delve into it properly yet. So I'm just going to give a bit of a summary about it now. So this was a review, an independent external review for Hawke's Bay Civil Defence and Emergency Management Group. So this is CDEM Group that sits over in Hastings. So the review said the lessons learnt fall into 2 categories. The first one is improvements at local and regional levels, which must be driven by the CDEM Group and by territorial authorities. The second category is a need for new investment in enhanced national coordination, assurance, consistency, and depth of professional leadership in response to emergencies. The review said this is more a strategic matter for central government, so that's essentially looking at the whole wider system of civil defence in New Zealand. On page 13 of the review, throughout the reviewers make a number of suggestions, which are recommendations throughout the review, but on page 13, they talk about their priority recommendations. So I'm going to work through those now with you. I think you might have the review in on your laptop, so if we could get to page 13, that would be great. So the priority recommendations are made around the 4 R's of emergency response, which is reduction, readiness, response, and recovery. So recommendations number 1 and 2 under reduction. Recommendation 1 is about a disaster reduction plan, and this is looking at our flood protection infrastructure and other infrastructure. This will generally be looked at by our territorial authorities, as well as the Regional Council and as well as CDEM. 1C looks at targeted plans for particular communities, and that is something that CDEM Group will work on, but we will also be working on that across our territorial authorities as well, looking at our vulnerable and remote community groups as part of planning for the next event. Recommendation 2 is, as I said, as part of the overhaul of the CDEM system, so that's something we'll be looking to central government and CDEM on. The next 3 recommendations are under readiness. Recommendation 3C again is about particular communities, including vulnerable and remote communities. That's something that we'll be working on Napier City Council with our CDEM group. And recommendations 4 and 5 are around capability building and training. So that's something CDEM will be working on, but we will also be working on that with them. And that's something that we have started and that CDEM have also started working on. Recommendation 6 is under the response heading. 6A is about training for leadership and governance, and we're having a workshop with you all this afternoon to work on training. And the rest of 6 we'll be working on with CDEM as well, or everything under item 6. Recovery is number 7 and 8. We are still working on recovery from Cyclone Gabrielle, and across the region we have colleagues from other territorial authorities and from Civil Defence and HBRC working on recovery. We have started conversations about the next event, and we will be working on that with CDEM and the other agencies. And item number 9 is about the Regional Recovery Agency, and that's an item for them, but we will be working with them on that as well. So there's a lot of items in here that we'll be working on with Civil Defence Emergency Management Group and will be part of our work plan. So that's it from me. Happy to answer any questions. You might have questions that we're unable to answer, partly because we've only received this review on Monday and partly because this review was written by other authors, but we are here to help answer questions if you have any.
Any questions, Mayor Wise?
Thank you, through the Chair, and not so much a question, but just to speak to this as the member, our representative on the Hawke's Bay Sedum Joint Committee, who received this report on Monday afternoon. So at our committee meeting that afternoon, we had Mike Bush, who was the independent panel lead, deliver the final report to us, and he also provided us at the time with a high-level summary of the review findings and recommendations. The reality is the findings are complex, and they include recommendations at both the local, regional and national level, and has already spoken to the 9 Tier 1 recommendations, but sitting underneath that, there are 66 Tier 2 recommendations. So, there's certainly no silver bullets here, but at the committee meeting on Monday afternoon, the Joint Committee is very much united in our commitment to a full and comprehensive review of the recommendations that have been identified in the report, and to working with our CEDM coordinating executive group and council partners to develop a detailed plan over the coming months. We really know that we need to move at pace with this. The process will involve community groups and leaders who will also have a very important role to play in embedding these learnings from the response to Cyclone Gabrielle. I think the really important thing to know is that this is not about incremental change. We can't just tinker around the edges here. The report clearly identifies that our current national framework and the system that sits underneath that at a regional and local level is broken. It does not work. So this is a complete overhaul of how we approach emergency management here in Hawke's Bay, but also across the whole country. And the other commitment that we made on Monday afternoon is to establish a dedicated work stream with independence, leading that independence expertise, and actually just to ensure that we have the capacity, because this can't be something that we just try and absorb into our existing workload. We need to actually ensure we've got the resources to be able to do this work. It needs to be fully resourced with the support and expertise needed to deliver meaningful change for all of our communities for the future, and it needs to be done at pace. And that is the commitment and resolution that was made by the Joint Committee on Monday afternoon. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Oh, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I think that was really valuable context. Thank you, Mayor Wise. It actually answered, I think, the question that I had flagged, which was around, we're talking about developing a work plan. Who's developing that? I'm hearing that's coming from an independent space, yet probably to be appointed. And my next question was, when would we see something like that in terms of a work plan for deliverables? But I'm sure that will come as they work up a brief for who that independent person is and what that action plan looks like. So, yeah, I think that actually answered my question. One of the ones that jumped out to me, obviously being in governance and seeing I think it was part of the response recommendations on page 15, it talked about civic leadership, and I just wondered if there was any additional comment, Anne, you had on that. I note you said something about training coming up for our civic leaders, but in particular it was ensuring that our civic leadership and governance roles are adequately informed and enabled during a response, so putting people in their best place to contribute. Is there any additional commentary you have at this stage on how we could look at that internally?
So I think we met with you a few months ago about our independent review, and as part of that we were asked by one of the councillors if we could clarify the role that elected members play. And we are having a workshop this afternoon about our own work plan from our own independent review, but also to provide a bit of training for the elected members' role. So we will cover that this afternoon. That training is based on the current system that we have, and that training has come from Civil Defence. So that's based on the current system, but that's what I was referring to earlier. But we will cover that this afternoon in a workshop.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Do I have a mover and a seconder for the officer's recommendation?
No,
Oh, sorry. Another
I'll move.
good call. Seconder. Would you like to speak to the motion?
I think not a lot further to say from what I've already said, except that obviously, you know, more than a year on, and we know there's still many people in our community recovering from Cyclone Gabrielle, and that is why this review, alongside our own internal review, which we did, which the two reviews do identify and have a lot of the same recommendations, are so vitally important. And we must take these recommendations now, and as I said earlier, move at pace to ensure that we can just return that sense of safety and security to our community, that they know that if we experience another event, that we've got the right things in place to look after our community and ensure that we're in the best placed position to respond. Thank you.
Councillor Brown?
Echoing the Mayor's sentiments there, and just as a little point to add around maybe a little bit of hope in the space, Mayor Wise, Councillor Mawson, Bo, Crystal and I were lucky enough to go up to Gisborne for the Zone 3 meeting last week, and there we got to see their CDM hub, or their building that they have up there, and unfortunately, because they've had 17 events in the last 7 years. They're now experts at this, and they have incredible systems set up. Their information management was I think what everybody thinks that we should have in 2024, but we're still trying to catch up with. So there's a real blueprint there for success, and I hope that the people that develop this for us nationally take into account the learnings that they've had in Gisborne. Thanks.
Councillor Price.
I'd just like to say it's reassuring from the feedback from the Mayor on the joint committee. I mean, when you read through this, it's a lot of words, and to see that it's been grabbed hold of and independence being involved is outstanding. So thank you very much.
Normally we'd stop at 3, but some didn't clarify whether they were for or against, so I'm happy to...
Well, I'm definitely for. If I can say, history repeats. And I think if nothing else, Cyclone Gabrielle demonstrated to this region that scale event repeats regularly. The thing that we'll also learn is that this council used to have a number of the facilities that have been identified as being absent. And I think we're going to see history repeating, where we have to rebuild our own systems and processes. And it'll be really great when our community helps us do that.
Absolutely, and I think that to be fair, that process is already underway since our own review. We've moved relatively quickly, but obviously not so fast that we're not going to miss what's come out of this review as well. So there's no further fors or against there. I'll put the motion to receive the report. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. And that brings us to the end of our meeting. So again, we'll have a recess while we change over for our next committee meeting.